Morning, another day, another wearable test.
Today we're doing the Samsung Galaxy Buds 3 Pro.
And as per the usual, we'll explore, all while we test out these earbuds. And yes, I'll be using the ear. But before we do all that, first things first. Coffee. Check. We're in Greenwich Village in New York City, and this cafe has some historical significance, actually. This is Cafe Reggio. It was opened in 1927 when the original owner, Domenico Parisi, came over from Italy. When asked how the cafe has stayed on this street for almost 100 years when very few other things have, the family that has overseen it for the past few decades now says it's because it hasn't changed since 1927. There's an apparent 16th century replica of Lorenzo Lippi's lot and his daughters still on the wall, an antique bench claiming to be owned by the Medici family bearing the Florentine crest of theirs, and this 1902 espresso machine that is still sitting in the cafe today from when the owner Parisi originally spent his life savings to get it shipped here from Italy. But the truly remarkable part of history here to me is that Parisi is often credited with bringing the first cappuccino to the United States here in this cafe after saving $1,000 over 40 years of being a barber to buy that espresso machine. Now, it originally ran off coal, by the way. Now, I wish we could try a cappuccino from it, but oh well. Now, speaking of replicas, yes, they do look a bit like AirPods, especially in white. And considering most Samsung fans are generally very anti-Apple, wearing something that could get confused for them is probably not ideal. So, I'd maybe get the silver dark gray ones if that's a concern for you. Something else that helps them stand out, though, and I think is just kind of fun, is the fact that they have LEDs on the stems. Now, these are used for pairing notifications, which are a little redundant since most of the time you'll be doing that in the case, which has its own lights, but whatever. You can also use it to find them, though, which is helpful, especially when it's dark, and when they turn on and off. You can, however, go into settings of the Samsung wearable app, and if one were so inclined, make it so that they stay on, or they pulse on and off, or they blink all the time. You do, however, have to pinch and hold both earbuds when they're out of the case and not in your ears to turn this on, and you have to do it every time you take them out of the case again, so it's probably not something you'll remember to do. And it obviously is pointless and possibly even obnoxious to people around you, but I like the fact that you can at least do it. Using touch controls are solid. You get used to using your index finger to kind of stabilize it and then tap or swipe with your thumb, and there's a nice haptic feedback actually too. You can customize the pinch and hold for each earbud. I have pinch and hold on the right for ANC ambient mode on and off, and the left one to open Spotify. You can do the usual tap to play and pause, double tap to go to the next track, and triple tap to go back. But also they have swiping up and down for volume, which is a welcome thing, as a lot of buds don't have that for some reason, and it kind of annoys me a bit. Even the AirPods Pro didn't get that feature until their last model, finally. Also though, voice commands work surprisingly well. There's no wake word, you just say play music or next song, and it gives you a ping sound to let you know it worked, and it happens with almost no lag, even in a loud space. Play music. They're also IP57, so splashes of water and dust, and that means like rain and sweat when working out, is all fine. But this is just the buds, not the case. So just keep that in mind. Plenty of musicians played in various bars and clubs here in Greenwich Village, nowadays between the East and West Villages in Lower Manhattan. But so many, especially during the folk music boom here after the end of World War II, simply played here in Washington Square Park. Actually, in 1961, the then Parks Commissioner and the Washington Square Association decided that the park should remain a quiet place and had police remove musicians and their followers from the park. Now, a protest ensued, arranged by Izzy Young, the owner of the Folklore Center on McDougal Street, near the cafe we were just at, and they pushed back. Eventually, the ban was lifted, and since then it has become a central place of open-air artists. Some more notable ones include the likes of Bob Dylan, James Taylor, Joan Baez, David Bennett Cohen, and many more. And even now, you can find plenty of musicians playing with upturned hats for tips. Now, speaking of music, let's talk about the audio. One of the things Samsung has added to these is higher definition 24-bit 96 kilohertz audio, but this only works with sources that support it, like Tidal or other hi-fi audio apps, and it has to be with a newer Galaxy phone for it to work as well, thanks to a special proprietary codec that Samsung is using. It's also disabled by default, and you have to go in and enable it in the app, which makes sense since, again, it only works on like 2 phones basically at the time of making this video. Samsung also mentioned that they're using dual amps, 2-way speakers with more frequency response, etc. to create a better sound. But let's try the ear I built a while back. If you're familiar with the channel, you've undoubtedly seen it. And let's see if I can at least attempt to have you hear them versus some other earbuds, at least a little bit. I'm gonna dance by myself. Personally, as an admittedly non-audiophile, I think they sound great, and the ANC is actually shockingly solid. It's definitely the best on a Galaxy Buds ever for sure, and I think it even competes, at least, with the latest AirPods Pros, too. Now, I've been using it on planes, and it drowns that out well, crowds, hums, and buzzes in my office, etc. They also get properly loud, which I appreciate as well. You can also customize the EQ in the Galaxy Wearables app to better suit your liking, but out of the box I get enough bass and they're clean enough sounding, so I'm happy with them that way. Also, transparency mode works well too. It actually makes outside noise sound very naturally pulled in spite of the fact they are pretty well passively sealed, at least when you use the ear tip test and put the right ear tips in for your specific ear holes. Now, side note here, if you weren't aware, Samsung postponed the launch of these now at the time of making this video due to the fact that people were ripping the ear tips when removing them. Now, Samsung's website explains to flip the ear tips out, then pull them off carefully to remove them as a precaution. I can tell you right now that even then, they don't feel like they want to come off, so I'm just not going to risk it for now. We'll see what Samsung actually changes going forward to fix the more delicate tips, or if they just include a piece of paper with some instructions in the box as a warning as you open it up, but who knows, just a heads up. Now, they do also have adaptive ANC, which allows you to turn on voice detect, and it'll turn off the ANC when it detects you talking, which can be helpful, even if it takes a second to kick off, so your first few words come out maybe a little bit louder than the rest of your sentence sometimes. There's also siren detect to let the sound of a siren through so that you can be aware of them, which personally, as someone living in New York City and the amount of sirens that I hear, that seems like the opposite of what I want. I know that they're there, I don't need to hear them. You can also have it in this mode automatically turn on transparency mode during calls, which I do actually like, as I find when I'm on the phone with ANC on, it tends to sound super unnatural to me and it kind of makes it harder for me to talk. Is that just me? Thankfully, you can turn all of these on and off based on what you like. So I have siren off, talking on, and call transparency. But of course, you can always just pinch and hold to turn ANC on and off manually once you set that up for one of the earbuds. Just weeks before his death, Jimi Hendrix opened this recording studio here on West 8th Street called Electric Lady Studios. In 1968, he and his manager Michael Jeffrey bought the space when it was a recently closed nightclub called The Generation, where Hendrix had played at many times for late-night jam sessions. It was known as a place as well where B.B. King, Chuck Berry, Sly and the Family Stone, and other legendary acts all played. Now, instead of continuing it as a nightclub, they ended up converting it into a professional recording studio. In 1970, Hendrix opened it to a gathering of many other musicians and friends, including Steve Winwood, Eric Clapton, Ron Wood, and Patti Smith. Through Hendrix and many classic 70s recording sessions with the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Stevie Wonder, David Bowie, Patti Smith, and many others, it became an institution for recorded music, and is today the oldest working recording studio in New York City. Now, recent projects include Taylor Swift, Frank Ocean, Bleachers, John Baptiste, Lorde, Adele, Sabrina Carpenter, and it goes on and on. So it is very much still going. Now, speaking of recording vocals, let's talk about the call quality on the Galaxy Buds 3 Pro. Samsung says that they've used a 16 times larger language model and a 735 times larger training database on voices to have the earbuds identify your voice over other sounds better and pull the other sounds besides your voice down to help the person you're on a call with hear you better. They also have what they call super wideband calling, which increases the bandwidth for your voiceover audio to 16 kilohertz instead of the more usual 8 kilohertz. But this only works on Galaxy devices, again, thanks to that proprietary codec. Regardless, here's what they sound like on the Buds paired with the Z Fold 6 to the best that I can try and show you. Okay, this is me recording my voice using the voice recorder on the Galaxy Z Fold 6 without a headphone. And this is me recording my voice using the Galaxy Buds 3 Pro. And this is me recording my voice using the Nothing Ear 2. And this is me recording my voice using the Sony WF-1000X Mark Vs. This is me recording my voice using the Apple AirPods Pro 2. Now beyond that, Samsung is touting a listening translation mode. Now this allows the earbuds to translate whatever you're hearing in a language that you select into your language in near real time, so you can hear people speaking other languages nearby. Truth is, though, that this only works with the newer Galaxy phones that have interpreter mode built in, which is because it's not a feature of the Buds at all.
It's just an artificial limitation, as the interpreter app just won't use audio from any other Bluetooth headset, even though it easily could, which is annoying, but it is what it is. Now, the Galaxy Buds 3 Pro also have auto switching for the earbuds to switch between your Galaxy phone, Galaxy laptop, or Galaxy tablet automatically
based on which one you're using. But it doesn't have standard Bluetooth multipoint as far as I can tell, like other earbuds that regardless of the device can do this between two devices that have previously been paired with them. Something that I like when using a computer and a phone and jumping between them is just made a lot easier. Cheaper earbuds like the Nothing Ear 2 even have these options, but here it seems Samsung only wants you to have this with other Samsung devices. Now, for battery life, I used the buds today at some point for 30 minutes straight with ANC on and lost 11%, which extrapolates out to a little under 5 hours or so. And then did the same 30 minutes with ambient sound on, and I lost the same 11%. And finally, I did the same 30 minutes with ANC and ambient off and lost 7%, which extrapolates out to a little bit over 7 hours. Overall, not the worst battery life. Other earbuds will do better, but at a cost of worse ANC, if I'm honest. So that's kind of the trade-off to me. And of course, you can pop them back into the case, which contains about 4 or so more full charges. There you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something. Let me know what you guys think of the earbuds in the comments below. Always appreciate hearing from you guys. I'll also leave a link to the best price that I could find on these earbuds in the description below. And now, I might go find a jazz bar. Good night.